Hello and welcome to Ensuring Success 2019. We are so happy you're here with us. I will apologize. We are a little bit past the start of the hour. We had a technical difficulty in our very first session, and that's how live broadcasts work, and so it kind of threw us off schedule for the whole day. But thank you so much for being with us and accommodating our schedule change. So I am Gail Perry, Editor-in-Chief of CPA Practice Advisor Magazine, and this is Ensuring Success. This is our 9th out of 10 sessions, so 2 hours left today. I would like to thank all of our sponsors who've made this event possible and made it possible for all of you to receive CPE credit for attending and for us to be here in this beautiful studio. We're live from AMS Pictures in Dallas, Texas. These are the sponsors who made this event possible: BQE Core, eFile4biz.com, Paychex, CPA.com, ADP, Xero, Chase Inc., Wolters Kluwer, Intuit, Gusto, Canopy, Avalara, Sage. Thank you so much for all of the support for this event. We could not do it without any of you. For those of you who are just joining us new this session, I want to explain real briefly how continuing education credit works. So if you need CPE credit for this session, here's what will happen. We'll display 3 codes at the bottom of the screen at 3 different times during this session. You'll need to write down those codes. That's our verification that you stayed with us for the whole session. And then at the end of the day, whenever you're finished watching all of your sessions, you can click the CPE tab at the top of your screen, and that will take you to a form where you can enter the CPE codes for every session you attended all day today. That's how you'll get your continuing education credits. You can reach us if you have any questions. We're at info@ensuringsuccess.com. And if you're on social media, please talk about us. Our hashtag is DecemberCPE. So this session, this 9th session today, is called Be a Better Financial Planning Advisor. Your opportunity to help clients is here now. And what we really want to focus on is helping clients who haven't been able to help themselves with financial planning. So our speakers here today, I'll introduce them very briefly and then have them tell you a little bit about themselves. Next to me is Marty McCutcheon, and then Gail Perry Mason, and then Aaron Burson. So would you like to start, Marty?
Sure. I'm Marty McCutcheon. I have a firm in Fort Worth, Texas, and we focus on tax and financial planning and profit advising.
Excellent.
Hi, Gail Perry. It's so wild that Gail Perry and Gail Perry Mason.
Yeah.
I know, that's wonderful. But I am from Detroit, and I'm here on behalf of Money Matters for Youth. And what I do is teach youth, how to really to start at a young age. And so I love doing that. That's what I do for a life, and then for a living, I do investments.
Exactly. So wonderful.
Yes, thank you. It's great to be here.
Excellent.
Aaron Burson, I'm the co-founder and CEO of Fringe Accounting Co. We're an outsourced controller and CFO advisory and accounting firm, and we focus on helping businesses reimagine how to do their different processes internally, business intelligence, and budgeting and forecasting.
Excellent. So before we start, I'm going to ask our panelists some questions, but I want to paint kind of a grim picture for you first, because who doesn't need that? So I have a handful of statistics that you might find interesting, and you've probably heard of some of these already. 75% of full-time workers are living paycheck to paycheck in this country. The median retirement savings of people in their 60s is $150,000 to $200,000, which may sound great, except their medical expenses alone are expected to be at least $200,000 in retirement. So that takes care of any savings they might have. There are 40 million households that have 0 in retirement savings. Young people today cannot count on the Social Security system thriving the way it is set up at the moment. Job structure is changing so that more jobs are being automated and more employees are gig workers and contingent workers rather than employees, so they're not having payroll taxes withheld from their pay. And older Americans, for the most part, can't afford to quit working. So there you go. So it seems like we may be on the brink of what could be a personal financial crisis in this country if things don't change in some way. Or if it just stays status quo, I suppose, but that's not going to happen. So there are a lot of opportunities out there for accountants who understand personal finance and would like to help others understand personal financial planning. And in particular, accountants who can communicate that information to people who don't have an understanding of personal finances. And so we're hoping that we can plant some seeds with you today that might push you in a direction to start helping either existing clients of yours or potential clients of yours, or even people in your community who might be in need of personal financial planning services. So there is no personal financial planning for the most part, education in the schools. Some schools are moving in that direction, but it's certainly nothing close to even barely a minority. Most consumers believe that a personal financial planner is only for someone who's got a lot of investments and not for the average person. And the average person, at least the average person that we think of, and the average accountant provide the makings of the perfect match, if we can just find ways to make that happen. So, based on all of that, I'd like to ask our panelists, with regard to financial planning and your clients and your associates, what are you seeing out there in the world today?
I can start. I'm closest to you. So what I deal with business owners exclusively, and what I continually see is someone coming in and we talk to them and they think, well, personal financial planning does not apply to me because I have a business and I'm going to sell it for millions and millions of dollars at some point down the road, which they don't realize. And they're like, I don't have to save for anything right now. I just spend everything I make. That doesn't happen. And I have to talk to them as like, you hear about that, but there's so many people, there's so much more that goes into that, and just getting them to change their mind because they're part of the statistics that you just read off. They think that business is just a tree and it's always going to produce fruit, and then that someone's going to want to buy that pretty tree. That's not always the case. So just getting them out of that mindset as a business owner is huge, and it takes, once I introduce that to them, it takes a little while for them to believe it and to start acting on it. So that's one of the big challenges that we see.
Sounds like a challenge.
Yep.
Gail?
And I believe Marty is 100% right. You got to change that mindset.
Yeah.
It's basically the thing. But you talked about living paycheck to paycheck. I know a lot of people, like, I'm from Detroit. People come to me, they live paycheck to Monday. It's not even paycheck to paycheck. So it's kind of like you have to look at, and the one thing you have to just like simplify it. And people say, oh, working with somebody, I don't need that. I say, oh, no. I don't care where you are in life. This is why I teach kids starting at age 8. I said, look, everybody needs their own personal board of directors. They might not even know they're on your board of directors. I have accountants. They don't even know they're on my board of directors. I just call them up, you know.
Yep.
Now I have you two. Now, exactly. Marty, you guys. And I could call up and say, and Gail, I can call you and say, hey, you're on my board of directors. So I think we have to look at, like, we're our chief life officer. And we have our own personal board of directors. Yeah. We need an accountant. We need, a planner. We need someone to tell us to eat right. We need someone to tell us. So whoever's on your personal board of directors, so it's more about changing the mindset, but changing it that, you run your own life. And what if you outlive your money? What if you, worst case scenario? And it's the thing is, you need people around you that's going to just coach you. So I don't even look at myself as, a financial planner or money camp or author or whatever. I look at myself as like a coach to say, hey, that's what we are. Because we have to coach them into to whatever our expertise is. So I think we have to change our mindset by doing something, by being a coach, by telling, and not just telling them. We have to show them. And I would just start with a life jar and just a mason jar, my last name Mason. And I just say, here, just take this jar, put the word life on it. Living in financial freedom every day, you make more deposits in life than withdrawals, and you'll never be in the negative. So just always make more, and that goes with everything in life, and simplify it. So anyway, I'll be quiet. Okay.
That's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I see the exact same thing, right? That mindset is the biggest thing, but I think also, in addition to that, is just the financial literacy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because we as advisors or people in this space, it's easy to us, right? We get it. We've went to school for things related to this, and you have so many people that even a simple thing of calculating what the interest is going to be on a credit card and how to, to pay off the highest interest rate credit card first, like that's revolutionary to some people, which, to me is surprising because I was raised with that financial mindset. My dad was an accountant as well, so I had that, being raised. But there's so many people that don't have that, and I think, especially generational, right? So I think baby boomers had a lot of that education, historically from their parents, and then that kind of trickled not so much down to the next and the younger generations. There's like every generation I think has a lower level of financial literacy in the last 30, 40 years when you actually look at what they're doing in practice, not just what they had exposure to. So I think getting that level of literacy up, right? We have reading literacy, comprehension literacy, all this, and we've been focusing on that, but schools, to the point of what you said earlier, they're not focusing on that, right? And I think we need to do a better job of that so that people understand the importance of all this, so that we don't have to, make them realize that tree is going to dry up eventually, but they already know that when they first come to us or we first start talking to them. I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen needs to start happening. I mean, because especially with the gig economy, right? Everyone spends every dollar that comes in. They're not withholding taxes. They're not paying or saving for retirement. They're not saving for anything, right? They're living gig to gig, right? And that could be 2-3 weeks in between. That's not even paycheck to Monday.
Yeah, I know.
Right? There's no certainty in that at all, and there's no savings. I mean, I do a lot of tax returns for personal, gig economy type people, and they're not even thinking about this, right? And they might already be 35 years old and they haven't saved anything for retirement because they, a lot of that retirement structure was formed and is kind of institutionalized, where if you're working at a big company that has a 401k and all these savings plans, you then invest in it a little bit over time. Someone told you put 1% or 3% away, but when they don't have that, no one's telling them that.
Nobody works a job.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids will tell me in a minute, who needs to go watch?
Yeah.
It's like, who wants to go watch these days?
Yeah.
And I think instead of using like literacy, empowering them. So I think we need more empowerment plans with our clients and with everybody, with the kids or with with the millennials especially. And they use every app in the world. They got to be apt to use like the apps from the sponsors, basically. We need to put them up. I mean, from Mint, I say you got a lot of them from Mint, all these different apps. And I think if they are, apt to use everything else, they need to be apt to use financial apps from Stash to this to that. I mean, that really makes a difference. And they save without even knowing it.
Yeah.
That's the best thing. That's the best way to empower that whole generation too.
That is a good way to get people involved.
Oh my God, it's the best.
It's fun and easy to use.
It's fun. It's easy, and that's
You don't have to think about it.
You don't think about it, right? You don't think about
and
it.
you don't need that institutionalized plan to do it, because you just need a bank account and you could do it. I mean, I use those all the time. I mean,
my kids
as the
use
resident
all
millennial on the panel here, so
I know you are. Yeah, I know. So I know you use.
I use like 10 different savings apps, like because it just takes it out and I don't have to worry about it.
And you don't think about it.
Yeah, and if it's not there, then I don't have to worry about if I spend it already, because it's already taken out of my account.
Yeah, it's nice. It's easy. So all of you touched a lot of people in different walks of life, and so with regard to financial planning and financial attitudes, what are people saying, and what are their outlooks when you talk to them about finances?
The people I talk to are paralyzed because they think it's so big. And they're like, okay, all this retirement, and they're just fearful because they're like, where do I start? I'm like, well, and they're like, what do I invest in? What do I do all this? And we don't do investments or anything. We just advise them and say, all right, let's get a business that's profitable, but hey, let's start putting $100 a week, $1,000 a week, whatever the number is. Just get in the habit of moving money to a separate account and just start that habit. It can just sit in cash. It doesn't have to earn interest day one or start growing, but just get in the habit, so then you have something over here in an account, and then you can go to a financial advisor and say, all right, tell me where to invest this, but just start somewhere. It just seems like it's this huge elephant they're trying to eat in one bite. Let's take one bite at a time. Let's just get some money. Let's quit making it some big theory of, hey, one day when I have $1 million, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. Well, let's just start out with $1,000, and then let's go do something with it. That seems to be, because when we get clients starting to put that money aside, it changes them internally, and it gives them more hope, it gives them more security, it gives them some swag about their business, and they have more fun, and then they just kind of take off, and they do their thing, and it's fun to watch. And then you're not trying to convince them about this. Now you're having fun, and you're advising them. Say, all right, now, like what we end up doing is saying, they're like, hey, I want to get more. I want to put more money in there, and then we help them create their business, save taxes, and so they can put more money in those accounts and start saving. So that's a long-winded answer, but it's an interesting thing. They just get paralyzed.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think like success is on the other side of fear all the time. And the main, you said the exact thing that you're right, fear is it. But if you take the fear out of it, and like you said, make it fun. We did something in Detroit where all of our youth, ages 8 to 18, they did the premiere for The Lion King. So what we did, we just went on and we just, got everybody Disney stock. So when they walked the red carpet, they all walked just like, oh, not only are we going to see the premiere of the movie, we own Disney too.
Yeah.
And then so all the parents got involved, everybody got involved. And of course, I'm not saying to do it, but this is the way you just introduce the kids. You have to make people aware that this is tangible. You know what, this could be me. And then, I take a group of kids and meet Warren Buffett at the Berkshire shareholders meeting and, the Bill Gates, and they learn, oh wow, I could earn, I could own the baby, just different things. Like, and then we drive by Warren Buffett's home to say, like, this is where he lives, but this is, look what, you go in the shareholders meeting, it's like, oh, he owns this, but it's just kind of like, it's exposure, and we have to look at like Kodak film. Well, you wouldn't understand what Kodak film, but you're millennial.
I know what Kodak film is.
Okay, but Kodak film. But it's like Kodak film, I always say our kids, but people need exposure to it, and then they need development. And like I said, again, we are the empowerment coach to them, and we have to empower them and coach them little by little. Just, I don't care how little it is, like I said, the jar, or like you said, $100 or $1,000 or, something like that. So,
And that
yes.
empowerment is funny you talk about with the children. There's adults that are just, they're just scared
You
and they're
empower
not.
the children, then the
Yes.
parents,
Yep.
they come right along because
Yeah.
they're like, oh, wait a minute, they're like, I can do this too. So it's kind of like, wow, I can do this. And people come, and it comes down to our health too.
Yep.
We're doing a health and wellness. Heck, if you don't have any money, you owe tax, you owe all this stuff. It's like, wait a minute, my interest rates are high. This is high.
Yeah.
Heck, my blood pressure's high.
Yep.
You do health and wellness.
Yes.
I mean, no, really, it goes hand in hand. I mean, people die of stress, and financial stress is
Right.
the number one. People get divorced. Same thing. Financial is the one thing. So that's why this is our job to empower.
Yep.
Yeah. I think both of you, though, touched on one thing, or two related points, but like you said, making it fun for the kids,
Yes.
right? And then taking the fear out of it, right? I think that's the biggest thing that I see that
is,
cripples people is that they're just too afraid and they feel like it's a penalty or a bad thing. Like their paycheck's going to go down if they start putting away for retirement, right? So then they're just viewing it as it's less in my pocket today, or it's less, right? Whether it's less in my pocket today or whatever, it's a painful thing to have that taken out. So I think reframing that into it's a fun thing, or it allows you to have fun, or something later, or at least it not being a penalty or a detriment to yourself. So I mean, just a simple thing of you get a raise, take a % of that raise, put it away, and keep the rest of the raise for yourself.
Yep.
Now you have more money than you had before. You also are saving more than you had before. So there's no pain, no penalty, and it feels like a good thing, right? And now they feel good about themselves, and now they're saving for retirement. They got more money in their pocket. Everything's a benefit at that point. So I think it's just reframing that into not an unfun or not a scary thing, but something that can be all around positive. I think that's a big thing that for any age group, right?
Yes,
From
it is.
any age group, we're pain adverse
Right,
as human beings, right?
Yeah.
So if we deem something as painful, we will do everything possible to not do that thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So that removing that, I think, is where we really can start to transform people's mindsets about it.
No, you're right. Because we try to prime the pump with getting them to find some savings, some waste in their business, so that you don't have to decrease what they're taking home, but let's find some waste, cut some waste, and then just pocket that money.
Right.
And that gives them a little bit of, because we keep on coming back, it's a mind game. I mean, once they get that momentum and have that confidence and believe in themselves, it's just fun to watch them do it.
Yeah, it is. And then like you said, the waste, but make layoffs. I always tell them the first thing you do is take a mind your own business day, like once a week. Just take one day and mind your own business. On that mind your own business day, it's like, hey, I'm gonna lay off I'm going to lay off something. Whether it's a few cable channels, whether it's whatever, because that's how I started.
Yeah.
Just laying off everything except for, like Lifetime and Hallmark. I laid off every channel, but I'm just saying, but you can lay off every channel. And then, you could, but, cable, you pay so much for cable, so much for everything on, phones, different phones.
Oh, yeah. And there's so many
the
things you
latest
sign
everything.
up for, and you don't even know what they are anymore. And they keep
I
hitting you
know,
every
and
month.
you're all these gems that they.
I've
and
heard that
then
happens.
these millennials, but especially younger people, everybody turns into a vegan.
Yeah.
It's like I
No
have
thanks.
to have
I
avocado.
like my steak.
But I have to have avocado toast, in Starbucks, which costs me $8. It's like come on.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just we are, it's a big waste. So we have to start. If you look at the millennials and the young, I'm so sorry to pick on you, but just to put one thing in a washer, one thing in a dryer, one long shot. They do a lot of different things that are just, and everything that they want starts with an iPhone, iPad, everything. That's, if I can't afford it, I shouldn't buy it.
Yeah.
It's the truth. I know, so.
Exactly. So all of you have structured your work life in ways where you're helping people with finances. And I'd like you to each just spend a little bit of time kind of explaining what the thought process was to do that and how you got there, in ways that might help other people who are thinking, I'd like to help people too, but I don't know how to do it.
I can start off because I used to, as I did outsource CFO work before we did tax planning and profit advising. Those were big engagements, and you couldn't scale really. So when I went into the tax planning, I kind of said, all right, I want to have more clients, have less time with them. And so I kind of just cut away from doing any CFO or advising work, and I didn't really know how to package it. And so I talked to some other CPAs and said, how can I, but all my clients want it. They love it. They're just sitting around talking about life, and they just want to ask those questions, and trying to find a system and having a scope of work, say, hey, I'll be glad to help you out on this topic and setting the boundaries, because this personal finance issue, you can sit there and talk to clients, and if you don't charge for it, you're going to have personal financial issues because you spend all your time. So to me, having a scope of work and being able to have a plan of knowing, all right, I'm going to provide this, and this is where I start, and this is where I begin, it really helped me to where, okay, now I know I can monetize this service. I can give some good value to my clients that they want. And then, like I say, we don't do the investing part. I know when I can hand that stuff off. That's been a huge thing for me, because I felt like I was just kind of going, because we don't charge by the hour. And so I was like, man, how do I charge for this? I talked to some other folks and tried to have a structured service that I could provide to them, and that really helped us do what we do.
Okay.
So
That's great. That's a good balance. Yeah. I just try to balance between I don't take vacations. That's the one thing. I don't have that balance for
you need to do
myself.
that.
I know, but I don't, because for the last 26 years, I take kids, and that's when I teach them financial literacy, and that's how we kind of met to empower them, and I divide them up like stocks, small cap, mid cap, and large cap, and they do different things from starting their own business, but they balance their checkbooks. Like when they come in, they become accountants, they become TV anchors, they become, everything from an attorney to a valet driver, whatever, and they have to balance a check. But at the end of the day, they don't want any kids, they don't do this, and they learn how to balance.
Yeah.
And they go home and tell the parents, like, wait a minute, you have to pay health insurance, you have to pay car insurance, you have to do this. So they do this, and it's really just seeing the numbers, like numbers don't lie. So I try to do things with kids, so I do that once a year, and then sometimes I do things on weekends and things like that, and go to shareholders meetings, just to expose my clients, my kids, and everything. And then for me, since now I'm a middle-aged woman, I just started something to just get everybody together, like one Saturday a month or every quarter, and we call it Forever 39. Gail, you have to come. Yeah. It's called Forever 39 in Detroit. Okay. We started a Forever 39 book club. We got 3,000 people in it already.
Whoa.
Forever 39 book club is all for middle-aged women only, and you gotta be over 50 though, but Forever 39, and we only read numbers, no books. just numbers, credit score, interest rates, tax, stuff like that. We only read numbers, and blood pressure, BMI, whatever, and we alcohol content in wine, whatever it is. So anyway, which is true, that's what we do. And we only book appointments, whether it's to your accountant, whether it's to your lawyer, whether it's to your doctor, whether it's to the spa, and that's what we do, and we talk about it. So, we just do that, and so it's for Everything Right Book Club, and we just have fun. So, and we talk about numbers and drink wine.
That sounds great.
And it's fun, but I'm just saying, to get people together and to make fun, and then during the week, meet with everyone.
Yep.
So, but it's fun just doing stuff like that, just getting people together.
I like that. I mean, for me to just start helping people, just start, right? Just find something you're passionate about and then educate yourself about it if you don't have a formal education about it. Learn something that you have a body of knowledge that's maybe not common knowledge to everyone, and then just start helping people out. To me, that's the easiest way to start doing it. I mean, that's what I did, actually. I found an area of my day job that I loved doing and I was passionate about. And then I ended up just naturally learning more about that than any of my peers. And then that transitioned into what I do today around technology and everything like that, just because I geek out on technology, right? And no one else wanted to geek out on technology, so I did. I read roadmaps at 2 a.m. and told people about typos and stuff like that, because that's what interested me. But then that allowed me to then, but light reading to go to sleep. But that's what allowed me to then start helping all these business owners and all these, individual contractors and everything like that, because I had that knowledge that wasn't common knowledge, right? And that I was passionate about, so that it didn't feel like work. It was fun, and I got to meet really interesting, cool people. Right, so that's what drove me to do it, but I think that's what, if you are interested in helping people, just starting to do it and make sure you're passionate about it. I mean, to me, if you're not passionate about it, then it's not going to last very long, because it's going to become laborious and tedious, and you're going to hate waking up to go do it. And if that's what you're getting into, then rethink that. But that's my advice. If you want to start helping people, just do it.
Turn your passion into your payment too. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a brief break right now to hear a word from one of our sponsors, and we will be back after a 1-minute commercial from Canopy. And at that point, we'll give you your first CPE code for this session, so don't go away.
What is the best part about the Zero community? And action!
I think I did like one of these.
Shake it out. Shake it out.
I think it means, for probably the first time in a long time, it's fun to be an accountant. I think that's what the community means to me.
The best thing about the Zero community is the welcoming spirit.
Collaborative effort between everybody involved.
I really feed off the energy.
It's really helped us to grow our practice. It's a community of people who like to collaborate and like to share ideas.
We cannot stay isolated. We have to stay connected.
It's there. It's at your fingertips. Honestly, I could not have learned what I've learned outside of the Zero community.
They're going to walk away with lifelong friends.
I really don't think I would be where I am today if I didn't have the Zero community around me.
Here we go.
All right, welcome back. And please make note of the CPE code that is showing on the bottom of your screen. That's your first of 3 codes for this session. You'll need that if you want CPE credit for this session. So we're back talking about financial planning for people who need it. And what can a financial advisor do to really make a difference? And if you've got an example of something you can share, that would be great. Of an experience you've had with a client or a colleague or someone you've been helping where you've made a difference.
I can start since we're going this way. I think listening and not being judgmental to your client. I know that's a very vague and big topic, but being approachable and knowing that they can come to you to talk about issues, and they know that we talked about, you got to care and be passionate about what you do. So I had a client that, I've had several clients that have they get worn out with their work, and they're like, I just want to shut this thing down. I'm tired. I'm just going to go get a job. And being able to look at and start counting, showing them the blessings of what's going on instead of all the bad, negative, and then giving them that boost of the things that they should be thankful for, and it gives them a little bit of energy. Because, at least with business owners, I mean, we're all usually perfectionists, and we're always looking at the bad side, not the positive side, and just kind of boosting them up a little bit, making them thankful for stuff. So I've had clients that wanted to shut the doors and they were just going to walk away from a business, to after we point out some of the positive things, it energized them. Several years later, they sell their business for several $1 million. And they are like, why do they keep on? Oh, I was going to shut the doors and just walk away. And now, and so that's, just listening and not being judgmental about, that's just a big thing. Because you always hear about these other folks saying, man, I'm not going to talk to my CPA about this because they're going to just make fun of me, or they're going to look down their nose. I'm like, I don't get that. So that's kind of my experience.
Okay.
Oh, that is so awesome. I just think we do have to allow them to look at their blessings. And I think we're, I look at myself as a financial therapist, because people come and tell you everything, but you do have to give people hope. And hope, just like you did with your client, like you said, that sold their business. And hope just stands like hold on until pain ends, basically. Because, because,
that's a good one.
It is, but because everybody goes through pain.
Yeah.
And I think when we do go through, because some people are like, oh, look, everything, because I know, and like you came, like you said, from a good family and knew the financial literacy. I didn't. I was in foster care, and then you got adopted by a family who never had an opportunity to go to college, knew no financial literacy except for have a joint account with Jesus at the credit union.
Yeah.
That was like my financial, that was all I knew. So, but the thing is, I think we do have to give people hope. We do have to say, hey, you could do this. This is where you gain your strength from. And it's how you act when you have your money. Do you still remain humble? And that's the one thing. This makes you humble. Humble is the best thing in the world. And that's when we do count our blessings, and that's when we do make deposits in life. And our job is really to make deposits in people, whether it's hope, which is worth more than money, which is worth more than anything in the world, to say, hey, you got this, because I don't want anybody to ever be poor. And I always say poor means passed over opportunity repeatedly. So we have to give people the opportunity. The only way you give people opportunity, this is what I teach my money camp too, is the word unity. We have to come together. And that's when a whole board comes together, like, hey, you might not be able to do it, I might not be able to do it in what I do, but we always know someone. So we always give people resources. Like, hey, you need to do this, get a loan, refinance, do whatever it takes. So I just think that that's one thing that we can do for clients. And I'm not just saying clients, but just for people, because I know that's what we're talking about money camps. I don't want my job to think I'm here talking about being a financial advisor right now, but I want them, I want people to have hope. And I love what you said, Marty.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything both of you said, and I think in addition to that, giving them the support along with that hope, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, I know
And the resources.
Yeah, so the resources, both in knowledge and access, right, and introducing them to people that can help them, whether that's a banker that they never would have had an introduction to or something like that, that can actually help them go one step beyond what we would help them with, right? But then also that support of just being available. Right, we've had clients call us at 12:30 at night on a Saturday because their minds don't shut down when things are going wrong, because in their heads, like you said before, Marty, everything always going wrong, right? That's what they're looking at. So I think having someone that they can pick up the phone and call or shoot a text to, or a chat or whatever, and get a response, and they're not sitting there in their own head for the next 48 hours until you come back on Monday. Right, I think that availability and that access to someone who understands them, what they're going through, and can actually give them that hope and support to get through that weekend, right, or get through that payday that they don't think they're going to be able to make the payments to all their employees and everything like that. I think that's really what we can help them with, beyond the financial planning and the traditional strategies and things like that, because that's really what they need. To your point earlier, is that board of directors, that personal board of directors, right? We all sit on that for a huge number of people that we interact with. Whether it's through your job or just your personal life, if you have a connection with someone and they trust you, you're on that board.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, so I think having that ability to respond and be responsive is a huge thing that a lot of people don't actually do in the profession or in really life in general. They're too, like you said before, I. Right?
Right.
So, well, actually, let me take a little break here before I ask another question so we can get our second CPE code in. So we have another brief commercial break from our sponsor, BQE Core, and then we'll be back with your second CPE code. And welcome back. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the second CPE code for this session. So please be sure to write that down, and there will be one more before we finish up. Right now, we're talking about financial advisory services and who needs them most and how we can provide them. So I'd like to ask our panelists if most of our audience is accountants in small to medium-sized accounting practices, at least based on a survey we did a little earlier this morning and what our expected audience is. We have people from a lot of other size firms too, but the bulk is that group. So let's say you're that person, you're a CPA, you're in an accounting practice, you've got 4 or 5 people in your practice, and you're thinking, I've got clients who could use financial planning services. Or maybe I've got family or friends or business colleagues from another life that could. I know people who could use financial planning services, and you're thinking, but who am I to start? Who am I to offer that? Where do you start, and where do you give yourself the confidence to be that person, to be the advisor?
I think you come up with what you believe in, and you come up with a plan, and you execute the plan on yourself. And you do it, and that's going to turn something that's theory into practice. And then when you communicate that plan, they're going to see in your eyes, see in your voice that you believe in it, and you can share, because this plan, whatever plan you have, when you're going through the practical steps, you will know the pain points, and you can hit on those pain points, and then you can go through the psychology of it. And so when we do it, I don't sell them on the numbers because everybody knows the numbers. I sell them on the feeling and the emotion that they're going to have, and we celebrate the emotional side of it. It's like, hey, you just put some money aside now. Let's look, how awesome is that? And then just the way and we talk a lot about, okay, now that you have this more confidence because you're saving more money now, it gives you confidence in your business and allows you to make more money because now you believe in what you're doing more. And it's just a whole snowball effect. So do it on yourself first, then send it out to your clients. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I look at, and that's it. It's good because everybody's different. And that's good. Like, you're great. It's like starting with yourself. Sometimes it's so hard as women. We got to balance our whole family. We got to balance everything. And we spend from our hearts. A lot of women do. And sometimes things happen in life. And so whether it's divorce or whatever, and this is what I try to do is everybody, like a doctor, like everybody needs something totally different. And so it's like how we approach them is, like how you approach them, like with caring and, knowing and counting their blessings. But it's kind of like the way we approach people and have an individual, like, oh no, this is just for you, and you make them feel so special. Like, okay, I was so excited. And like you just said, celebrate, like you celebrate your clients, whatever happens. I mean, yesterday I had a client, she saved up, she bought a home, beautiful home, so excited. And her first home ever that anyone in the family has ever owned. So she had 20 people at the closing just to come and just to celebrate. So, but just to celebrate, owning a home, getting a key to their own home was so important because it was the first person in the family that's ever owned a home. So it's like those type of things is, you celebrate, whether it's sending the kids off to college, whether, whatever it is to be there for those celebrations. Like, wow, I'm part of the celebration. I'm part of, saving for your child's education, whatever it could be. But I mean, all of that makes a big difference. Or especially if a person gets in trouble, like you said, or didn't have, with their business or whatever, you see them through, you're like, oh, look, that makes you feel, that brings us joy.
Yes.
When we can do something,
Yes.
it brings us so much joy. Whether you're accountant, no matter what your livelihood is, being part of that person's board of directors brings everybody joy.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say specifically for people in the accounting world and space, right? If they want to start doing that financial advising and they don't have the confidence in themselves that they can do it, right? Because they either haven't done it or, because they're in the accounting space and we normally don't think that we can do half the stuff that we can do because we don't see it as special, which is why we don't price properly for a lot of stuff. But I think just if you're in the tax world, just start with that, right? There's a lot of tax incentives that you can benefit if you do proper retirement planning, right? You get there's reasons why those incentives are there to encourage people to save for retirement. So, I mean, use your strength, which if you're a tax accountant, is knowing the tax law, and just start with those simple few things to advise on that, which surprisingly, the majority of people aren't even taking advantage of that stuff. I mean, especially in the gig economy, I mean, set up a SEP IRA versus a traditional IRA so that they can put away a lot more money, focus on the tax benefits of it because you're strong there, right? I mean, if you're not in the tax area, then, this won't help you so much, but then just if you're not, understand that what you know on the finance side is probably a lot more than what someone who's not in finance understands, right, inherently in what they do on a daily basis. So just have that confidence that you probably know more than most people in the room when you're in, let's say, a creative type environment, right, with a lot of creatives. Not saying that creatives don't know finances, but a lot of times they just think differently about things, right? So just have that confidence and just start doing it, I think, is how I would recommend people to just get started, because that's where you leverage your strengths, right? And then over time you'll learn more and then you'll research more and you'll get better at it. And just like with anything in life, you practice, you'll become better. You just have to have the confidence to start day one.
So following up on that, so you've gone through these steps and you've decided, yeah, I can do this, I can make a difference in people's lives, so I'm going to go in this direction, I'm going to, offer some financial planning services in the areas where I have strengths, and so now you want to find clients to offer those services to. So how do you step out of what for accountants would be stepping out of a comfort zone and soliciting business? How do you get those clients, or how do you interest people in having you help them?
And I think you hit on a point earlier. You look at your current client base, and I would not look at it as you're selling them. You're solving a problem, and so that way, I mean, a lot of accountants don't like to sell, but if you go and you're solving a financial planning issue, and you go into it's like, this client, yes, they're already paying me to do something else, but I have a solution I think that would be of interest to you, and then just present it, and then just have and if they take it, great. If they don't, that's fine. Go to the next one, but just start. And I would only start with a handful of clients, and maybe say I'm gonna start out with 5. The first 5 that say yes, those are the ones I'm gonna start. And if you have control over the timing, try to get them all to kind of start at the same time, so that way. You say you have a group of 5 that you're going to start this new service with, and they're all in the same part of the path at the same time, and you can just get used to working on that. And then after you get used to, because what we do is we start out with a year-long engagement. When I was start doing it, we started out with 5, and then at the 6-month mark, we started off with 5 more, and now we can take them on at any point. But there's some internal operational issues you got to get down, because you had this great idea, and I'm good at ideas, but sometimes I'm not so good on the execution. So I wanted to make sure we could execute what we were trying to deliver. So just talk to your own clients, solve their own problems.
Okay.
So.
And Galia, I know you're not an accounting firm, but you're in financial advisory services. So how do you go about encouraging people to work with you so that you can help them?
Get referrals.
Yeah.
It's like the best, I think, you know, when we get referrals, you know, that's the best way to go most of the time. And I have never, like, you know, made a cold call in my life.
Okay.
Yeah, I've never gone out and just basically solicited business or anything. So, and once you work with one person, you know, they tell another person, like, can I bring my mom? Can I bring my child? Can I come to your camp? You know, whatever. And it's like, oh my God, like you know, you have so many people that want to just be part of, you know, and I always say, and then one thing I do, like every year, like I'll even, like for a lot of my clients, I'll say, oh, I'll do cooking classes. There's another way to get it. Like all these ingredients go into, and I love to cook. So like you said, you turn your passion into your payment. Like you need all these ingredients in life. And so that's it. And then you know, put a little kindness in it, a little compassion, bake it, but sometimes you gotta go through the fire for it to be good. I mean, that's just life. That's just that's a portfolio basically. I mean, it is. And then cayenne pepper, you know, you know, that's it. You know, put a little risk on it, call it a day.
So you're making it fun, and
I think making anything fun and making people learn, and not just the black and white, the numbers. You show people a chart, and it's like, oh, you know, what am I looking at? You look at all these numbers. It's like, oh, you ready to just fall asleep. So, and that's why my head's off to you accountants. Like I'm not even. I'm like, whoa. I would just be dizzy all day. You know, just looking at numbers like all the time, and not getting out and just, you know, socializing with a lot of people. But you know, and it's okay. Or reading like road maps, whatever you. I'm like, okay, yeah. But anyway, but I, you know, but just, you know, just doing fun things. But you're still learning, and people will say, oh my God, I learned so much and had so much fun, and that's what people always say. And it's like, oh wow, like I want to be part of that. I want to be part, you know. So it's like more of a club, and it's like, you know, but it's fun. You got to make it fun, and show them that you're, like you said, that you care and you're passionate. When you're passionate, it shows. It shows that you really care about people.
That goes way farther than a cold call.
I know. Oh, I know. I've said it. I set up and cried with people. I mean, they cry. Heck, I cry. You know, it's like we're crying through this together, but we're gonna get through it. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Aaron.
I mean, aside from all that, right? Because all that's great advice. I mean, I'd say the one thing that I think most people are afraid of is just to ask, right?
That's true.
Right. You talk about word of mouth, referrals, and stuff like that, but a lot of times people would have no problem recommending you. They just don't realize that you want them to do that, right? So just ask them, hey, do you know anyone that you think could benefit from working with me? You know, we've done that, and then all of a sudden someone's like, oh yeah, I know like 5 people that you could talk to. Let me make introductions, and then now that one relationship turned into 5, and you know that just keeps going from there. I mean, I joke around sometimes, but I think in what we do in financial planning and accounting and just professional services, our job is just to connect people, right? So if we can connect people, if we can connect with people, I think that's where we can get those clients from. That word of mouth travels a lot further when you make people understand that you're actually looking to grow your practice, to offer something new. And then you also get the chance when you ask them to kind of word it in a way that they can then tell that to other people about what you're trying to do. So now you get to actually control that messaging that they tell other people, so that they're presenting it the way that you want it presented. And then ultimately that person, when you talk to them, they have that preconceived notion, which is the correct notion of what you want them to understand that you can help them with, versus whatever they think financial planning is, right? That big scary monster in the room or whatever it is, and maybe it's just that initial conversation or whatever that messaging is. I think that allows you to really get that word out there.
Okay, we need to take one more quick break. We're going to do that, and we'll come back with your 3rd CPE code, and then we'll wrap this up. So we'll be back in just a minute. Don't go away.
I am passionate about the business owner, his or her dreams, desires, helping them to achieve their goals and to be successful. My motto is your business is our business, because I truly believe I can't be successful if my clients aren't successful. My name is Taryn Sampson, or better known as Taryn the Tax Lady, and I provide tax and accounting services for individuals and small business owners. So you have the blue suit, tie, accountant.
Hey, how are you?
I'm more social. I like to interact with people, not just be behind the desk and in the numbers.
I met Taryn when I moved into the plaza and started my business. And then I noticed that I needed more financial guidance, and so I couldn't do it all on my own.
They'll come in, they have no solutions for accounting. All they have is, I have my bank statements, I use my debit card. They may even be commingling funds.
You know, we had a system set up on our phones, but it wasn't really enough when our business grew. And so it became a lot harder for us to manage, and really everything was falling by the wayside.
How do you know if your business is doing well or not throughout the year if you're not accounting for your business? The Sage Business Cloud solution is great because I can access it anywhere, my client can access it anywhere. We can see our numbers, we can collaborate real time.
One of the main things I love about Sage Accounting is how user-friendly it is. And for myself, when I'm not so much technology savvy, I found it useful because it really was self-explanatory.
They'll call and say, oh my God, I didn't realize it was so easy. I thought I would need your help along the way. And I tell them, no, it is. That's one of the reasons why I decided to partner with Sage. Now I can be like a virtual CFO where I can look at it real time and say, okay, this is what I see, this is what is trending, this is doing well, this is not doing well. Help them make decisions for their business.
Sage Accounting allows me to keep doing what I do best and what I enjoy doing, which is hair and makeup.
Now we can use this tool to now elevate you and elevate your business and take you to the next level. And Sage Accounting definitely will help any accountant do that for their clients.
All right, we are back. The third CPE code for this session appears on the bottom of your screen, so please write that down if you want CPE credit for this session. You have all 3 codes now, so at the end of the day, when you're finished with all your sessions, you can click on the CPE tab at the top of the screen and a form will appear where you can enter your codes for CPE credit. So meanwhile, we're back with our panel, and we just have one question left to wrap up with, and that is, so say you have decided you want to help your clients or colleagues or family members or children in your community, whoever it is that you want to help with their financial planning and their financial future. What are the challenges that you face, that you have faced, that you think you might face, and what do you think the formula would be for overcoming those challenges?
I think when you first introduce this, so when you're trying to provide tax services, accounting services, or any other, usually there's a deadline, so there's some pressure for them to make a decision. With financial planning, there's no time pressure. So you introduce the concepts and you show them how you can solve the problem, but then you kind of have to sit back and be patient. And then this engagement's not going to start until they're ready. Mm-hmm. And then so when you first present it, and then the key, I think, is following up with them and making sure you continue to educate them. They're going to come around. They might not be ready today to do this, and they'll be ready at some point. And just keep educating them and giving them information. You can't be too pushy on this deal, and don't get discouraged. I mean, just keep planting the seeds out there and just remember, it's a different type of service you're selling. It's not a tax return that has an April 15th deadline. It's not a bookkeeping where it needs something for a bank, or it's not an audit that has a due date. It just kind of takes a little bit of time, and you're waiting on them to make that mental decision to do it. So
that's great advice. Okay.
No, that is, and that's absolutely is one thing I was going to say is just having the patience while we wait.
Yeah.
And people to, okay, maybe I can make this move.
Yeah.
But you do have to keep dripping on people all the time. And just what you said, planting seeds until it's like harvest time. Mm-hmm. So it's just like that. So sometimes people are so fearful. And that's one of the biggest obstacles is fear. Mm-hmm. Another big obstacle is, like you said, is not, like stepping outside your comfort zone, doing the ask. Like, you're good at doing that. That's great. But even doing the ask and say, hey, you don't want to put pressure on people. The last thing you want to do is push people away. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and that's the only reason why I try to make it fun, because I know how I grew up and I know how my parents thought. So it's a different mindset. And having people have a different mindset. And then one thing will go wrong in the economy. One thing will go wrong in the election. One thing will go wrong in politics. One thing will go wrong in whatever will happen, that day. And just like the market's emotional, people are more emotional. So all that plays a hand in it. So we have so many obstacles, just as all of our professions and what everybody does every single day. And just, I don't care if you stay-at-home moms, they have a difficult time because they have to manage the household. So you got to look at what that's all a profession. And things happen every day that we all have to just deal with, and we have to have balance. So a lot of different obstacles.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was a good question, Gil.
There's so many.
I know there's so many. I'm like,
where do you
we
start?
could go on forever. I know.
Just on that one question, we could go on.
Even being a woman, I hate to say that, but sometimes men don't want to work with a woman, you know? Or people don't, and I'll be, honest. I love that Sage is using, your sponsors using, an African-American hairdresser. I didn't see it, but I love that your sponsor is doing that. A lot of people won't, and that's just, especially being a female, and then you're African-American too, it's like, whoa. People will walk in like, wait, maybe, and that's real world. That is the real world.
Yeah, to the point of what you said during the break, right, I guess this is relatively unique to me, or other people in my generation, is we're advising people who are older, and we're often the younger one in the room.
Oh, all the time, yeah.
And
same thing.
Not necessarily the least knowledgeable in the room, we're just on this planet less time, right? So I think that challenge as well, because you're advising people who are, potentially double your age, right, on what they should be doing, and then you often get that, well, you're just a kid, you don't know what you're talking about. That's always a challenge, right? No matter what you're doing, really, that's always a challenge. But I think demonstrating from that position of knowledge and intellect is how you get around that. So if you are looking to do that and you're younger, know your stuff. Review it before you go into that meeting, understand it 10 different ways, be able to explain it to someone who is 12 years old, right? Because then you could explain it to someone who is not thinking rationally because they're not looking properly at the situation, or they're being emotional. And then you really do have to talk to people like they're at a much lesser, thought process because they're not thinking straight, right? So I think just having that all buttoned up and understanding that is a big thing when you're coming from that viewpoint.
Outstanding. Thank you all so much. This was a fantastic panel. We have one more session left today. We're going to make a quick set change. We're going to be gone for like 2 minutes, so don't go away. We'll be right back with our last session. And thank you all for attending. Thank all of you for a great session. Thank you.
Thank you.